What's up, everybody? It's Spencer Alessi, and this is the eSports Narrative. What's up, everybody? This is episode 19 of the eSports Narrative, and I am joined with Maverick, who is a competitive Pubg player for Incontrol HQ. Maverick, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So first, I always like to get started with my guest narrative, I call it, or their esports narrative. So what's your story? How did you get into competitive video games? And more specifically, how did you get into competitive Pubg? And, how did you get into that, and why did you decide to go in that direction?
Well, the funny thing was I was quite late to the esports community. I was very late to it. But I started off on console first off because I used to sit back and I used to love watching Optic compete. So I thought I could get, some of the fun for it. So first off, I actually started with Call of Duty. I went into Black Ops 3 doing competitive there. Only small stuff, doing stuff like game battles for MLG, like small little things there, here and there. And then I got offered by somebody DM'd me on Twitter once and said, would you be looking to enter a little tournament for Black Ops 3? And that got me going to start off with. And it was the real deal. There was commentators and stuff like that, which it got a liking towards competitive wise, because I liked showing off my skills in video games. But I started doing Call of Duty for about 2 years of competitive, and I realized that it wasn't going the best what I wanted it to do. It was quite a slow process of myself getting into teams and such like that. And then when Pubg was announced, I went all hands on deck. I got rid of my consoles, and I went and bought a $3,000 PC so I could have the best experience for Pubg. Yeah, so I put all of the money in the bag and just went straight to Pubg. And in the first month, I came top 15 for NA for Pubg, and I already had my name out there already. Went through 2 teams straight away, and then went into a tournament in the first week. I mean, I did more in Pubg in the first month than I have done in the last 2 years for Call of Duty. So it's changed my my perspective on esports and competitiveness, because it's basically just shown that from comparison of Call of Duty and Pubg, which one I'm better at.
Yeah, and you mentioned the perspective of what esports means to you, and coming from a top 15 in North America, I'm curious as to, what you define as esports, or how you, if someone asked you what esports was, what that means to you, and tell us a little bit about why it's so exciting for you right now.
Oh, well, esports is like my life. It's my job. It's where it basically makes me wake up every day. It's what I put 9-10 hours of gameplay into every single day. It's basically my job, and if I don't work to the expectations of my job, then I'm not doing my job properly. I treat this as my job. I don't treat it as a video game. I treat this as I'm in it to win. I'm in it to do what I have to do. It's a video game, but it's competitive at the same time, and it has an outcome at the end of it. But it's the excitement and the thriller at the end of it, where I can go back and see the progress that I've made, and other people. I can actually express my specialties in game that other people can enjoy and sit back and watch in a competitive kind of manner, where people will commentating over it, and I can sit back and rewatch how far I've came from.
Yeah, now you're a streamer, so you've kind of built up a community around yourself, and how has that been, and has that been playing into the excitement as well?
Yeah, I mean, they both had. Yeah, I was a streamer before I came into competitive, but it's been great. I mean, the communities came together. People come into the streams. I get the backup. They're basically my family on my streams. They come in, they sit back, they enjoy the stream. But yeah, I've got all the faith and all the support from my viewers that come in on the stream, and it has had a big impact. It's made me grown bigger in my community. So I've still got my own personal community, even though I'm in a team community. It makes me show out as an individual instead of playing for a team as well, which has had a great impact on showing off my skills, just so I can stream it as well, so people can sit back and watch it from my perspective.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned growth, and growth is a big part of life in general, and even in esports, there's a trajectory of a player's growth. What's the number one reason people fail to succeed in esports or in any particular game?
I would say mostly it's exposure, really. A lot of people find it hard because there's a lot of competitive. It's very hard to get exposure out these days because there's so many people that have already got these big names out for themselves, and these big teams have already signed up all these big players. For new players to come on the block that have just started, who've got that late start to esports, exposure is their main problem because they have had a late start to it. And it's very hard to have a community starting when there's already community that's been out for a couple of years beforehand, and that's what's mainly stopping and holding back players when they can't get that exposure out. Because what I've had to do is for myself and is for friends around me that are competitive players, their exposure is quite low. So I've had to have I've got myself my assistant that looks over my social media and my Twitter, and him and her. They sort out all my stuff, and they sort me out of contracts, sort me out with sponsorships and stuff like that. It's mainly exposure that's stopping people from being held back in the esports area.
Yeah. Now, do you find it helpful to have people helping out with that kind of stuff so you can focus on what you're good at?
Yeah. So as I treat PUBG as my job, and my main focus is PUBG. I would love to have that helping hand where people can sort that stuff out for me, and they can call me up and be like, look, we've got this on blah, blah, blah. We've got somebody's just DM'd you on Twitter. What would you like me to say to them? And I can just tell them in a couple of seconds and they can reply back to them. And it's very good because they can, while I'm spending a couple of hours in game training, they can spend a couple of hours researching into different sponsors for myself and getting more exposure out for myself as well.
Awesome. Now, transitioning a little bit, I always like to go on kind of a journey on the show. What's been one of the worst moments for you in esports, and how did you overcome that?
It was, I think about a year ago. I had a complete mess up in esports. There was a time where there was some words and some stuff been said over the different communities that mocked up my name, and it made people have different perspectives over myself. Basically, some rumours and some lies going around about myself in general, through with finances and how much I was getting paid, which caused a massive deal for my team that I was playing for and the team I was getting transferred to. But for me to overcome that was I had to expose and actually send proof of my accounts and previous income that I was having, to show that I wasn't scamming or doing anything like that. But there was just big rumours and stuff going around all over Twitter. I had Twitter arguments, there's Twitter wars going on. Just about apparently I was scamming my teams and stuff like that. But I managed to get it sorted. It was no problem. It was just some wise guy that was just trying to get some money out of it. But it was all sorted.
So what did you do to overcome that, or what was a lesson learned from that for you?
It was not trusting anybody that doesn't have, the legal resources. So, when I went to this team, they didn't have the right, legal contracts. So they tried to make me sign this contract, and a couple of months later, I realized that their organization wasn't actually legally signed. So their contracts were actually void. Their contracts didn't mean anything. So if I did make a income from tournaments, they could take all the money that they wanted, and I wouldn't be able to receive any if they wanted to do that. But I only found out this about 2 months later, after another team approached me and said, listen, they're not a legalized company. They're not even a proper company. They're not branded as a company. Their contracts are void. They don't mean anything. And I hacked. And so this other team, luckily, Incontrol, they offered me a spot. They offered me contracts. They offered me everything to do, backing me up and everything. And they were so good with what they were doing. It was fantastic. They just helped me out so much with it.
Yeah, that's a common theme I'm hearing with players, is that there's a lot of, not I don't want to say scam artists, but call it what it is. There's a lot of people that are trying to take advantage, either intentionally or not, mistakenly. It seems to be a lot of that in the Wild West of the esports industry right now.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's a huge thing going on. I mean, a couple of my friends that are competitive players for Call of Duty have had it twice, maybe 3 times in their career.
Yeah, it just goes back to what you said, is just making sure you know who you're getting, in a relationship with as far as a
Exactly.
team and player relationship goes.
Exactly. You want to find out as much information before you join them, before you sign anything. You want to find out as much as you can about them before you even sign forms.
Now, transitioning a little bit, what's been the biggest accomplishment for you so far?
Wow. Biggest accomplishments. I mean, I've got loads of accomplishments, but I wouldn't say one of them would be big, because all of them are big to me. Not a lot with Call of Duty. I didn't get on well with Call of Duty, as I said previously. But with Pubg, I'm doing 4-1 on solo tournaments. So I've won 4 tournaments in solos for Pubg, and I've lost one. I've made over 12,000 in that area for winnings wise.
Awesome.
Came second. Incontrol last week came second in the invitational tournaments. In Tier B, I believe it was Tier B. But yeah, we did really well in that. That was fantastic. But yeah, it's been, all of them have been great accomplishments for me. I mean, 4-1 in tournaments, top 15 for NA, second squads, and we just formed the squad. That's our first tournament, and we came second in total, which was fantastic. I mean, Pubg has done so much for myself, wise compared to what I did in Call of Duty. I mean, I've only been doing Pubg for the last couple of months, and I've managed to accomplish all that in the last couple of months. I just can't wait for what the future can hold for myself.
Yeah, and Pubg is still a very young game.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be exciting to see where it goes, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. They're still adding every stuff by the day. They're still sorting it out. But yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, the community is great around there. Everyone gets along. It's just fantastic. I was talking to Daz FPS from Team Noble. They're a competitive esports team for Pubg. And the community is great. You can literally just talk to anyone. I get messages from Twitter from different teams just asking questions. You want to train, you want to grind. It's just great fun. It's exciting to train. I put in the hard work. I put about 9 to 10 hours a day of playing Pubg, doing my grinding for it. And it might seem an obsessive amount of hours, but at the end of the day, it's my job. At the end of the day, I don't have anything else. Job-wise, this is now my job. It's where I make it. If I don't work up to standards, then I don't get an income. And it's getting to the point where income. It is my main job. It's where I put all my effort in. I put the time and effort in, and I believe if you do put the time and effort in, you can make it work. It's not a problem. If you've got that dedication and devotion for that one thing that you are doing, it will work out.
Now, you talked about how exciting the industry is and the community. How does one capitalize on the excitement of esports? Like, what have you done that you've been able to capitalize on it, and how can others who are kind of in the same position or looking to get into that position kind of capitalize on the excitement of esports?
It's fantastic. Like when you think of esports, it's online competition. At the end of the day, it's amazing. For myself to go into it, and it's putting all the hard work and exposure into it. It's great. I mean, there's no other word to describe it. It's thrilling. It's fantastic. It's fun. And it's life changing. It can be life changing. Because at the end of the day, people don't understand this. It's not the game that is important. It's the competition. That's what it is. It's not everyone seeks for. It's not the game that people seek for. It's the thrills and the competition for that game. It's when you talk about Pubg, yeah, that's the game. But when you talk about Pubg competitive, it's a whole different thing. It's where you take the game into a different perspective, and you take it to where there's only one perspective into Pubg competitive for esports, and it's you have to win, or you lose basically. If you don't come first place, there's no point playing. But it's just amazing from where it's come from. I never knew that there would be something out that in the industries that they would make something like this, but for them to make it into competitive, I managed to jump on that wagon as early as possible because the game is still on its baby steps. I managed to jump on it early as possible, and hopefully that can get my exposure that I need. But all I would say is and advise is exposure is the main big thing. So if you can find somebody and collaborate with somebody to make that bigger exposure, then you have a much more successful chance of actually getting up there.
Now, this is the 5-question combo breaker part of the show. I call it the button mashing section of the show. It's essentially the lightning round.
Okay.
What's the best advice someone has ever given you?
Best advice would be from my old owner. Really, it would be just don't stop. That's basically what it is. Just don't stop. There is no what do you call it? There's no winning and losing. There's no way you can succeed with not trying. There's no way you can succeed in anything without trying it. And with PUBG, for myself, is you come first or you lose. There's no other way of winning PUBG unless you come that first place. It doesn't matter how many kills you have, how many blah blah blah. It's if you come first. So somebody says to me, keep trying. It's just no matter what, don't stop. Just no matter what, don't stop. Even if the going gets tough, just don't stop no matter what.
Mm. What do you think the esports industry needs, or the PUBG community specifically needs, to continue to grow and be successful?
PUBG, I would say more committed teams, really, because I'm not trying to take offence to the teams out there, but in the Invitational a couple of days ago, I'm not trying to get on anybody's bad side here, but in the previous Invitational that they just had, there was some teams that wasn't taking the Invitational that seriously. And we were talking, there was stuff going on do you know what the term stream sniping is by any chance?
Yep.
Yeah, so
checking out your stream, trying to get, yep.
Yeah, so basically there was an incident in the Invitational, and LG, they were known as Luminosity Gaming, there's a player in there called Ninja. He was streaming at the Invitational, and basically one of the players in the tournament died. It was a duo tournament, so it's two people, they're on a team, so it's duos. One of the people died, and he came off the server and started watching Ninja stream in the tournament. And he started giving out the information to his teammate to find out where Ninja was. So it caused Ninja to die in the tournament, which gave them a beneficial chance because they basically stream sniped. And basically what that basically PUBG needs to learn is, I believe they need to make the rules a little bit more stricter, because everybody was getting away with it easy. There was cheating going on in the Invitational that was absolutely, it was a $350,000 Invitational tournament, and there was so many cheating going on. It was unreal. It was unprofessional. Yeah. And I believe if they had more rules and more stuff in place, to protect these players, then I would say PUBG would have a really good time in esports, really. But at the moment, they really need to sort out the rules and enforce these rules as well.
Yeah. Now, what's the best play you've seen, or the most memorable moment for you in esports?
It would be TSM, that's Team Solo Mid, break. He basically pulled off some amazing in the Invitational. I've never seen some more amazing skills than him. He's a fantastic player. I've got props to him. I talked to him once. He was an amazing guy. But he's amazingly managed to pull off a 4-man squad kill with an AKM in the game. It was a 1v4 at the end of the game, and he managed to pull it off and win it for his team. It was fantastic play by him. I was sitting there watching it live, and I was absolutely shaken after it. It was amazing.
Yeah. What is one specific action step anybody can take today to get started in esports? Maybe it is, to get started streaming or to get started playing competitively. What's your advice for someone that's maybe a specific something that they can do, today to get started?
Never play by yourself. Just don't play by yourself. Find somebody with the same skill group as you, so at the same skill level as yourself, and play with them. And by that, you're gaining exposure, and also you're learning stuff from somebody at your same skill level that may have some different techniques than you do, and be able to express and be able to tell you what you could be doing wrong and what you could be doing better. So it's constructive criticism at the end of the day. It's not bad to learn from somebody, but if you want to start off in competitive wise, find somebody at your own skill group and move up with them. And it's all about exposure in esports right now, because you could be the best player in the world and not known. You could be playing by yourself and be the best player in the world, but no one would know that you're the best player in the world unless you had exposure. Yep. So
you have to be in front of people's eyes in order for them to acknowledge your skill level. Sure. Yeah, that's really good advice. What's one daily habit that's been a big factor for your success so far?
Daily habit. It's putting in hours, really.
Yeah.
It's putting in 9-10 hours a day. Like I said, it's my job. I put in 9-10 hours a day, learn different techniques as I go. I train and grind with my team 4 or 5 hours, and then the other 5 hours I work on my own skills. It's just been great. It's just been fantastic, learning new things as I go every day.
Mm-hmm. Now, we'll close out the show with you just sharing a little bit of wisdom on, tell us a little bit, if you were just getting started today. I know you said you've only been in PUBG for a little while, but let's say you're just getting started today. What would your life look like in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or a year? What are some of the things you would be doing? You mentioned playing with other people to get exposure. What are some things you would be doing, 30, 60, 90 days, and what would your life look like in those time periods?
In 30 days' time, you're just getting used to everything to start off with. It's the first start in actually getting committed. So in the first 30 days, you'll be sussing out what you want to do, what you want to be, who you want to play with, and where to take it from there. In the next 60 days, you're looking to start focusing on looking for a team, hopefully signing contracts to get yourself onto a team, and then start practicing with those. Then if you're talking into the next 3 months or so, you're looking into hopefully sorting yourself out with your first tournaments. With these tournaments, these will help you get exposure, and these tournaments will help you have a feel for how other players and other teams will, how their skill base is against them into tournaments, how you'll feel against them, and their skill groups, so you'll be able to learn from their strategies and actually use them. And in the next year, you'd be hopefully looking towards, I would say if you're looking to play for a year's time, that's at the highest part where I would say that you would need to stop playing casually, and you need to think of it's your job now. If you've been playing for a year and competitive for that one game, you would need to focus on it as if you are successful, you would know about that year to carry on and focus on is that what you want to do? Can you make profit out of it? And hopefully that you've got that exposure by now to be able to go into tournaments and hopefully be transferred to different teams if you feel that that's what you want. But basically after that year, you will know what you want, and if it works out for you, then good on you. Keep practicing, keep focusing on what you want to do, and hopefully when you get on there, you can be a professional player for that game, and then hopefully you can start making money from it and income every month.
Yeah. Now, I also have a follow-up question. You mentioned tournaments a lot and participating in them and placing really well in them. What's your advice for someone who's new to the tournament scene? Like, I know there's a kind of a different feel when you go to a tournament as a player. What is some advice maybe you have for a new tournament player?
I would say just focus on the game. Don't let anyone else put you off. It might make you feel differently in game. You might have the shakes. You might feel uneasy about yourself, but just think of it as a normal game. Focus on what you got to do. Focus on that win, because you got to think in your head, if you don't win, you've lost. Doesn't matter if you come second, third, or fourth. No one cares about the second, third, or fourth. You need to come first or you're last. It doesn't matter if you came, second, third, or fourth. It's either first or last. If you get that first, good on you. If you come last, you can learn from that stuff. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. But you just got to keep focusing on what you got to do. And just don't take your mind off it. That's the main problem that players are having these days. They get unfocused in game and they lose because of that.
Yeah. Sounds like you're someone who really understands the value of failure or the value of learning, right? Like, you learn so much more from your losses than you do your wins, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. When I had I did 3 tournaments in a row and I won all 3 games in Pubg, and I made my money worth in there. Then I lost one. I looked on my losses and I watched the game back and I watched how I played it, and I learned from it. And then I went into the next game and I did the opposite of what I did in that lost game, and I won again because I learned from what I did in that one game where I messed up, and I completely did the opposite of what I did in that lost game, and I won it. So that got me to a 4-1.
Yeah, that's super super important, and it's really wise to just try and do whatever you can to learn from your mistakes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Share with the listeners where they can engage with you online, Maverick.
I'm basically, you can find me anywhere, even on Twitter.
Mhm.
It's Twitter, The Fallen Maverickz, or on twitch.tv/The Fallen Maverick. I'm starting to get my stream sorted out there, but at the moment I'm just focusing on my training. But I post every day on Twitter. If you want to contact me, I've got amazing staff team over there. Ryan and Alyssa, they are great staff over there, fantastic help. And yeah, that's where you can contact me.
Awesome. We'll make sure to put those in the show notes. And I just want to thank you again for coming on the show, Maverickz, and
No problem.
sharing your esports narrative with everyone. It was a lot of fun talking to you tonight.
Thank you for having me. A lot of fun.
Awesome. And with that, I just want to remind everyone that if this all goes as planned, this show is just the beginning.
Thank you, listeners. I really appreciate you. It would mean the world to me if you subscribed and shared the show. Your word of mouth is amazing.